If you're stuck at 30% body fat or higher, this is for you. You can hit 20% in weeks, not years, just 90 days. If you've tried cardio, cutting carbs, and skipping meals, but nothing seems to work, it's not you, it's not that you're broken, it's your plan. Specifically, these 4 pieces of the plan that we're gonna cover. This is the fastest way to 20% body fat while building muscle and losing fat at the same time. I've done it and I've helped hundreds of my clients do it as well. Do this simple system for 90 days, trust the process, and watch what happens. So this all revolves around my dial system. So excusing my lack of art skills, these are supposed to be dials, you know, like a radio dial or something. And this is what the dials stand for here. This is macros, this is your weight, these are your steps, and this is your workouts. We're also gonna include cardio in there. So this is called a dial system because we dial all of these in. And if we lose track of one of these, it accidentally can change while the others are getting dialed in. This is why people feel frustrated whenever they are doing all the right things but not losing weight, because they've probably lost track of one of these dials. So let's say that you have dropped your calories and therefore your macros have dropped, and that's dialed in. And that's all you're doing is just dialing down the macros and calories. But you lose track of, or you never were tracking the steps. Let's say hypothetically this person cuts 500 calories for their macros, but they stop moving by 600 calories a day. They're actually now more in a surplus than they ever were. So we're gonna keep referencing back to this, and this is gonna help us avoid the problem of metabolic adaptation. Metabolic adaptation does happen and you stop losing weight as fast, but it shouldn't stop you in your tracks. And if it ever has, it probably was actually one of these dials. Now, real quick, I wanna talk about how we make adjustments based off of the scale and your weigh-ins, because that's the weight dial. Even though this isn't gonna be dialed in, meaning we're gonna keep it the same, we actually want it going down, of course, it is something that's important enough that I wanted to make sure it was on this system and it's really trackable. Okay, so if your weight is going down, you're good. No matter how slow it is, you're good. You can make some tweaks, but this is success. And I want you to really start believing that, because if you have enough slow success, I promise you're gonna reach your goal. If your weight, on the other hand, is flat over the course of time, that is where we need to dial things in a little better. It almost never will be going up, and you might feel like it does. Notice right here how this kind of goes up from here to here. That's not actually going up. This is just the natural fluctuations of the body. And so if it's flat, again, probably won't be going up. That is whenever we dial in some of those dials. Those are the things that you need to be tracking. So if you're stuck, instead of taking away a bunch of calories, you could take away a few calories, maybe as little as 150 calories. Up your steps by 1,000 per day, increase your cardio by 5 minutes per cardio workout, and make sure that you're getting enough protein. Maybe you get a little bit more protein. And that right there, you just tweaked all the dials, and now you're gonna be getting progress. But you gotta keep tracking them so you don't accidentally end up eating more in response to getting more steps or whatever. One thing that's really gonna help you dial in your macros and your calories is gonna be this craving survival map. It is totally free, link in the pinned comment in the description, that actually runs you through what you're feeling instead of an actual hunger craving. Maybe you're feeling like you're running on autopilot or you're stressed, and you go through this list, and then by the end of it, you don't have that craving anymore. And if you can stay on your diet, that is, you know, that's the key to success. You've done this too many times before. Now we're gonna go into some details about the dial system and dive a little bit deeper into it so you're actually doing things well. This is probably one of the biggest keys to long-term success, is this point that we're gonna talk about right here. So I wanna talk about the 3 C's of lifting. We got control, consistency, and close to failure. Focus on these and forget the fluff. Especially at first, you're gonna make amazing progress with these 3 C's, okay? So control, kind of obvious, control the weight. If you're throwing the weight around, you're gonna end up getting injured. Consistency, probably the most important. It's probably one of the most boring words there is to talk about consistency. But if you are consistently going to the gym and going close to failure, which we're about to talk about, you are going to build muscle. Where do you think that energy comes from to build that muscle? It has to be built with something. If you're close to a calorie deficit or you're in a calorie deficit, it's gonna come additionally from your body fat. This is called nutrient partitioning. It's not exactly what nutrient partitioning is, but the food that you are intaking is going to go straight to building muscle, and then you're gonna be left in deficit and you're gonna have to scoop into the body fat reserves. So this is going to be key. Now, close to failure, I think that's pretty important. As a new lifter, it's more important to control it, make sure you have good form on all the exercises. But after like 2 months, 3 months, I'm not saying you're an intermediate lifter by then or anything. I'm just saying that you've gotten used to lifting enough and used to how it makes your body feel that I think you can start pushing close to failure. So that means the bar speed or the dumbbell speed or the machine speed or whatever you're holding on to while you're lifting the weights is going to slow down. This could also be body weight movements. And so whether that is, body weight squats or push-ups or whatever, when you're pushing yourself up away from the floor, it should be a slower push-up, even though you're giving all of your effort still. you are now moving much more slowly. That means you're getting close to failure. With my clients, I like to tell them to push like 2 or 3 reps into that. It's quite uncomfortable, but that's gonna cause muscle growth. And I think in a weird way, you start to like it. As I kind of mentioned, you can do this with body weight movements. You just gotta get creative. And one thing that I think is underrated, and I'm gonna actually show you on my computer, a channel that I recommend, because I'm not really good at this yet, and so it wouldn't really help you, but is this Rope Flow. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is Rope Flow. This is one of my favorite channels for it right now, which is Strength Side. He hasn't talked about Rope Flow in a little bit here. Let me see if I can find, there we go. So I know it seems kind of strange, and it's not gonna burn a ton of calories, but there's something about it that I really enjoy it's easy, and it helps me focus on like the positivity behind exercise. I love exercise, it's what I do for a living, but still, I just really enjoy the process. And the reason it's called Rope Flow is because you really, whenever you practice, it does take practice, but you really start to get into this flow state where you're just kind of like enjoying it. You don't really have to think about it. It's pretty cool. So like I said, that channel is Strength Side. If you just look up Strength Side Rope Flow, you're gonna love it. And I promise you, you're gonna get hooked. Okay, so real quick, I just wanted to talk about the time commitment that you would be expecting. 3 times a week for 30 minutes a piece. If you superset like chest and back, biceps and triceps, you're gonna get a fantastic amount of your results. Like, I don't know, 80%, 85, 90% of the possible results that you could get. You're gonna get that from 3 30-minute workouts a week if you superset. It's gonna be quite intense if you're supersetting an entire workout, but you know, that's as little as it takes. You could do a little bit longer. If you look up just total body dumbbell superset workout, you're gonna probably get a great result. Even with perfect lifting though, you know your diet can ruin it. So I wanna show you this thing that I recommend for all my clients. So this guy right now is one of my favorite on Instagram, Maximus Raminger, I guess. And this is a pretty cool video. I'm gonna show this to you actually.
Watch me eat 14 eggs at the same time. I know what you're thinking. Dude, that's a lot of food. Now watch what happens when I replace this with these chips. And now it's just a typical snack you have after a stressful day at work. But the crazy thing is that these have the exact same amount of calories, which is why you're always fucking starving, because you're eating shit that doesn't fill you up.
So this is the secret for all of my clients. It is high protein, high volume foods. Now I looked into that particular video, and 14 eggs, like he said there, has 900 and something calories, and like we'll just call it 1,000 calories. I doubt that plate of chips had 1,000 calories, but the point is that plate of chips probably did have 500 calories. And if you eat something like potato and eggs, it's gonna fill you up tremendously more, I guess, than a plate of chips. So this is pretty basic. There we go. You've heard this before. It's whole foods, lean proteins, and lots of fiber. Now, those aren't always considered the most delicious of foods. You know, chicken breast and broccoli and, you know, salads and things like that. But I have a cookbook that makes this far easier and far more delicious. Link in the description. These recipes are amazing. You know, cheesy Mexican protein rice is my favorite right now. It's gonna fill you up. So if you want that, go ahead and grab it. But the point is here to eat whole foods that are gonna fill you up. Now, we all know that. It's just tricky to kind of have that in our back pocket as something that we can always pull from. But I also want to encourage you that not 100% of your diet needs to be these types of foods. And they can be delicious. I'm not saying you have to have an 80% I don't like it diet and 20% I love it diet. It can be 80% if you give enough skill to this. If you give enough time to building this skill. It can be 80% of 8 out of 10, I love my diet, and then 20%, 10 out of 10, these are delicious foods, you know, things like that are off plan, but since you're making it a part of your plan, different video for a different day. But the point is 80-20 with these high fiber, high protein foods. So for this next one, I actually want to show you my phone here. This is one of my client graphs. You see that huge spike in the middle? So this is about breaking the mindset shift of the binge and repeat and, you know, cycling through that cycle that all of us who have ever struggled with their weight know. That giant peak right there is when my client said they messed up. Mess ups have to be thought of differently. This is not a thing. Look at that graph. It's still going down. They still have lost a ton of weight because they got back on the horse. Now, yes, did they depend on me maybe to not just continue to revert back into their old ways? Yes, of course. And so it helps to have that support system. But if you get right back on it, the point here is that, trust me, I promise you, I'm not lying to you here. If you eat an entire pizza one night, it is not over. You probably gained 1, maybe 1.5 pounds of actual fat. The rest went to refilling your glycogen stores, and that's why the next day your weight spike is huge. It's a lot of water weight. But just Look at that. Look how fast it went back down. I mean, that is amazing. Now, they had another mess up shortly after that. You see those 2 spikes because they still kind of were battling with that guilt. But I promise, if you just move on, guys, it's not gonna matter. That's what's so exciting is like, it really doesn't. It actually, I kind of think of it as a pit stop along the way, and I know it's kind of lame, but those cars in, you know, NASCAR or whatever, they're going so fast. They can't, I don't know how many laps they do. I'm not a NASCAR fan, but I don't know how many laps they do before they have to take a pit stop, but I'm sure it's not many. Because if it was, those cars would tear up. They have to have a pit stop. They have to have a break. They have to get new tires and all that stuff. Think of it as refueling the jet so you can keep flying, okay? And again, I know that's super lame, super cliche, but the point is, you gotta have that mindset shift. That is one of the main things. Those dials that we dial in, they don't always have to be strictly dialed, okay? So if one slips a little bit one day, who cares? You put it right back. And I'm not saying you put it right back and you make up for your mistake. I'm saying it never really was a mistake if you move on. It's whenever it turns into weeks, months, and you know it, years. That's whenever, okay, that was a mistake. I wanna give you some tips for this that really, really help me. No matter how you feel, after you quote unquote mess up, I want you to plan out your next meal. Literally go into MyFitnessPal or whatever you're using to log your food and plan out your next meal, write it down. If that's all of tomorrow's meals, do that. And then maybe you do that for the next couple of days, you stick to that plan, and no matter how you feel, don't take your weight because it's not gonna be true anyway. And no matter how you feel, I promise after 3, 4, 5 days, you're gonna see, oh, I'm right back where I was always supposed to be. You're gonna see that line is going right in the direction that it was supposed to be going. I know, I'm gonna show it to you again. This, look, remove those 2 spikes. That line is still following the same line it was always following. Do you get it? Like, it doesn't matter. I know I keep saying this. You've probably left the video by now, but if you haven't, I hope you're really encouraged. One thing I really want to stress is do not save your calories. Do not go into an event thinking that, oh, if I save enough calories, I'm going to be covered, because then you're going to overeat and you're going to feel bad. Just move on. Let yourself have more calories that day. And then another thing that's kind of underrated is diet breaks. I know it's not fun to intentionally put a pause on your progress, but a lot of times the choice is intentionally put a pause on it or be forced to put a pause on it and go backwards. So if the choice is no matter what, this is either going to pause or it's going to go up, I'm telling you, going down and maintaining, going down and maintaining, you're going to reach your goal in 3 or 4 cycles of that. And you're gonna have enjoyed yourself the entire time, and you're gonna have more muscle because you're not gonna have crash dieted the entire way there. And the last piece of going deeper into the dial system, now remember, those dials were steps, macros / calories, taking your weight, and then your workouts and your cardio. So I'm just going into more details on those things. This isn't like a 4-part breakdown of the dial system, but this is going more into detail about how to put that part of the plan together. So your cardio plan. When a person starts out, I really like to just emphasize steps, getting them moving. A lot of times they're gonna need cardio to get those steps. It's not really cardio though, you know, if you're getting on the treadmill and it's flat and you're walking at 3 miles an hour, that might not, for some people that might be cardio, and that's great. And you know, you will build up into that. But I'm saying that just to get your cardio, you might have to get on the treadmill or walk or whatever. And that's the point, is that the steps kind of force you into cardio. Now, as you get more fit, those steps become very, very easy. And that's whenever you start to have to do actual cardio. So what I recommend is a treadmill. If a person doesn't mind getting on the treadmill and, you know, just staring at nothingness, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, whatever. Here's the ticket though. Pick an incline, pick a speed. As you get better at that, increase that incline. So let's say you do 2.7 miles an hour and a 2% incline. As you get more fit, maybe you'll do 3 miles an hour and eventually a 10% incline. And in the same 30 minutes, you are now scorching calories compared to 2.7 and 2. You know, so the point is, if you use your fitness, you're able to burn more calories in the same amount of time. So instead of committing more time, you're able to burn more during that session. That can apply to anything. Your watts on if you don't know what that, it's just like a measurement of energy that you're expending on a bike, or, you know, maybe ellipticals keep track of that. Ellipticals might be RPMs, and so at a certain level, maybe your RPMs go up from 60 to, you're seeing now I'm able to do 70 or 80 RPMs at level 8, and so now at level 9, can I get back to 70 to 80 RPMs? And you're using that fitness, if that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, leave it in the comments below, and I'll like directly like say, hey, how would I do this on a bike? And I will directly give you a video a short in response to that. If you want more on the actual dial system, one of my original videos whenever I restarted YouTube is right here, and where I go into detail, like a lot of detail, on that dial system.